Hi, and welcome back, cyber defenders and lab coats, to the Cyber Speak Labs. Normally, we will have some amazing faces and a lot of cool stories, and I definitely want to use this episode to talk about a very sensitive subject and topic with our field. Now, before we go into this episode, I do like to have some disclaimers because that's what we do here. Now, if you are a person that does have anxiety, self-harm, or has gone through a lot of traumatic experiences, we will be talking a lot about human trafficking throughout this episode. So if you feel like any of these subjects and topics will bring any, I would say, rise, concern, or self-emotions that could be inflicting, please pause, take your time. This will be a very intense episode, and if this is not for you, no worries at all. We do have other episodes for you to tune into the lab. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce my super mysterious Batman friend. Hi!
Hello to the lab.
I love it. So, I guess I have to ask this. What is human trafficking? Because I know this, again, is kind of a taboo topic in a lot of ways. You know, there's a lot of documentaries and a lot of awareness, but in my opinion, people really don't see the cyber side of the dangers with this.
Well, no one ever does, because unfortunately, we are, as a society, we tend to believe that the internet is a wonderful tool. It's a wonderful place for everyone to hang out and communicate, and we can keep up with our long-lost friends. But also, we are prey for the predator out there if we go about our daily lives in cyberspace unprotected. Human trafficking, by its very nature, is the best way to put it is the theft of someone's freedom. It's modern-day slavery with either fear of harm to the person or loss of freedom, loss of life. I constantly, when I talk about this, think of the old mob movies where they say, you're either going to do what I want you to do, or I'm not only going to hurt you, I'm going to hurt your family, I'm going to hurt the people you care about, and then you really will, you'll die alone and without love. So it's coercion. It's the best way of putting it. I can't say it any other way than it is truly modern-day slavery. If you look at kind of just what the basic human trafficking involves, the use of force, threat, or coercion to obtain some type of waiver or commercial act.
Yeah. And I did an episode not too long ago on Defenders and Lab Coats called Cyber Kidnapping. And there was one story that really stuck out to me. And I don't know if this is something that you often see. I don't know if human trafficking has different stages, but I like to call it the predatory phase, where they initiate hunting or targeting and stuff like that. And she was a model over in the UK. And the trafficking, I guess, company, or it's not really a company, but the trafficking group itself contacted her model agency and posed as like a legit photographer, artist, everything else. And they ended up kidnapping her that way. She ended up getting, like, she escaped. She was able to tell her story, obviously. But what are some initial signs that, it doesn't have to be a woman, in my opinion. Like, I feel like anyone could be a victim of this, but what are some signs that you would encourage for people to look out for to avoid falling victim to human trafficking, or even just have general self-awareness around this?
So me, just about every victim of trafficking goes through a grooming process. Where it's initial content, especially for teenagers, young teenagers who are, I hate to use the word, but they're very hormonal. They're trying to discover who they are as a person. What is their niche? Where are their goals in society, in their mind, societal norms, in that innocent prime where you're truly trying to figure out exactly who you are, and then someone manipulates, someone threatens violence, they threaten, they threaten to expose you. I mean, human trafficking comes out in many different forms. Extortion, put the S in front of extortion, and that is probably one of the biggest money makers of in the human trafficking realm today. Where a teenager is, groomed and then coerced into providing explicit material to someone via Snapchat, via Telegram, via Discord, direct message. I mean, every platform out there. I mean, even X. We see human trafficking waves coming across X, even on Facebook, particularly but you see that come across. So it's really, when you think about it, human trafficking, you're robbing a person of their innocence, their soul, truly.
Yeah, and it's so sad. Before we recorded this episode, I was kind of doing some research, mostly just because I want to make sure, the topics we talk about, it has a heavy weight to the importance about this. And it's scary to how far this can go. And I remember when I was younger, I would play Call of Duty online, and this was when Xbox 360 came out. And I will say my parents did a good job, don't send explicit photos to people you don't know. Snapchat was starting to become a thing. Just because it goes away doesn't mean it does. If you feel unsafe, obviously, you can come talk to us. Don't use your real name. And when I was doing research about this, I started thinking, okay, Call of Duty's still a thing, but what do kids really play these days? And I came across Roblox. And there was this, I would say, online network, and it had a range of literal children in this Discord server, and it's called Group 764. And they would literally go do child abduction. They would encourage self-exit and self-harm. And they would use what you've said, and that's literally their ransom for sending explicit photos, using, I guess, their personalities and who they were against them. And it was just straight abuse until they did something. And so the person that was instigating all of this, they would move up the ranks throughout this. And it blew my mind. And it's even more crazy now because I look and see about even Discord. They released, after all of this started happening, Discord released a human trafficking disclaimer now for their platform. And of course, 764 has quote unquote disabandoned off of Discord, but it blows my mind with how people can just become a victim of this, and they're doing something innocent like playing Roblox. And next thing you know, they're being consistently harassed online and getting threatened to hurt their family and loved ones, or it's very sick.
Really, you hit the nail on the head. Wherever the kids, go, wherever they go, as and what should be a safe community for them to be in, that is where the predator, that is where they go, because it's that, forgive the military expression, but that is the target-rich environment. They are there waiting for the young person, or it doesn't even have to be a young person. It can be anybody. Anybody can be trafficked. And what they look for are the psychological and emotionally vulnerable people. So you have the neurodivergent, you have the autistic, you have the Down syndrome, people who have developed could be developmentally delayed, or they have some type of, and I don't want to call it mental illness, because they're not broken people. They're not broken. They just don't have the coping mechanisms that to resist that, or to withstand that bombardment. You have people who are in economic hardship. They don't have, those people that don't have a social safety net. They don't have, that peer group to charge you that is going to kind of close ranks around them and help them feel safe and guarded and protected. Or they don't have that family. It's the same thing that drives a lot of youth into street gangs. They don't have that sense of family, that sense of belonging, over here, but they find it over there. And that's where they gravitate towards. That's what they run to. You have people that fall victim to natural disasters, political instability. You see, if you watch the miniseries Human Trafficking, that has I can't think of her name, but Donald Sutherland was in it. But the political instability in Eastern Europe, and women being trafficked out of Eastern Europe, language barriers. People don't speak. If they're in the United States, they don't speak English, or they have, there's a fear of law enforcement. There's there are a million and one ways to cover this up. You see people who are trafficked across borders, not because they want to enter, they want to go into another country illegally, but they're forced to enter, a foreign country illegally. We've all seen pictures of young Asian girls being rescued from shipping containers. the box trucks coming across the southern border of the U.S. full of young children who are being taken to, literally they're being taken to a brothel. We've all seen the movie. I'm sure all of the viewers have seen the movie Taken.
Yeah.
I mean, those aren't just movies. Those aren't just pictures. That happens in real life. And that scares the crap out of me. Because this is the crime that goes unreported. This is the crime that people turn a blind eye to, or deaf ear towards. Because a lot of these especially if it's a trafficking, everybody was afraid of the Italian mob back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, right? Well, people are scared of these organized crime ones because you don't know what their resources are. You don't know if they're going to come after you, your family, their kids, next, if you report it. So, one of the things that I tell everyone to do is go to the National SAR Initiative, the Suspicious Activity Report, and learn how, what is suspicious activity? How do you report it? How do you, because the wonderful thing about the National SAR Initiative, which is part of the Department of Homeland Security, is you can report the activity and your name stays out of it. Learn how to do that. And yeah, I will share the link with you. And you guys can, you're more than welcome to do this. This is, like I said, this is through the Department of Homeland Security. This is training that people like people like me who are trained to go beyond this and investigate this stuff. This is where a lot of that information goes to. And when you report it, it goes to the network of fusion centers, which were created after 9/11. And this is the type of stuff that stops terrorist attacks, that stops trafficking. If you ever, driving through Missouri, just about every truck stop, you see anti-human trafficking signage near the restaurants, in the restaurants. And that is part of this initiative. We just a few weeks ago, we had See Something, Say Something Day. If you see something, say something. Don't wait for someone. Don't wait and don't hope somebody else is going to say something. If you don't, because if you don't, then the next person, it gives that person permission to stay silent as well. The only thing that is going to truly tip the scale in human trafficking groups as a crime is when the trafficking groups lose their anonymity, when they lose their cloak of invisibility. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to go Harry Potter on everybody here, but But when they lose that invisibility, that ability to operate in the shadows, that is when that is really when we're going to see the trafficking routes start to diminish, because they have no safe haven anymore. Everyone is watching for them. Everyone. No one is afraid to report them.
Yeah, and I was kind of just looking at statistics with human trafficking just across the United States, and I was really surprised by some of the numbers. I mean, I would expect coastal states like California, Texas, Florida, even New York to be high trafficked areas, bigger population, a lot going on, especially with borders and stuff. But I was really surprised with a lot of Midwest states being in the top 10. Missouri, Illinois, like a huge portion of the Midwest is. And I guess that's because there's a central highway through most of the Midwest. I would assume so. Or even like old Route 66 is all through the Midwest. And I'm from Missouri. And I was looking at some of the cases in Missouri, and it appears like I was thinking like Kansas City, St. Louis would be high areas. I didn't really think about Springfield, Missouri, being a high trafficked area. And I guess it does make sense. It's a lot of tourist stuff down there. It's a straight route almost to Texas and Mississippi. But yeah, I wasn't sure if you had any insight or opinions on that topic at all.
Well, I do tell you, one, St. Louis, Columbia, Springfield, Kansas City. What is one thing that all four of those cities have in common?
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'll definitely be looking at things a lot different now.
Then,
And I was thinking also, like, I'm really surprised that I like a lot of public high trafficked areas like malls or um like even gas stations, right? I don't know why there isn't like a ordinance or a law that puts awareness signs about trafficking, especially in these very populated cities and stuff like that. Just, I mean, and I'm glad we're doing this episode because people don't really think about that. But now you kind of just look at stuff a little different, how people are acting at a gas station, how people are acting, at a small grocery store. You just never know.
The true social awareness of working in human trafficking counterintelligence, I'll be honest, you're dealing with society at its worst. You're dealing with humanity at its worst. And just to kind of give you an idea, Kansas City, Columbia, St. Louis, Springfield, what makes those such large centers is one, you have a crossroads. Okay, St. Louis, just about everything converges across the Mississippi River in St. Louis. Interstate 70, Interstate 55, Interstate 64, US 40, Interstate 44, all come through St. Louis. Interstate 70, it's going to take you upstairs. The I-70 corridor, there we hear all about the I-70 corridor, the I-70 corridor. And that is truly the highway where we have human trafficking, drug trafficking, any type of trafficking. It goes it goes northwest on 70, Interstate 70, it goes southwest on Interstate 44, it goes south on Interstate 55, and so on and so forth. It just, the highways, but again, I asked, what's one thing St. Louis, in the city, Columbia, and Springfield all have in common universities? You have students that are young, you have students that are vulnerable, you have students that they don't have that social net, that social net, because a lot of those are, they're not commuter schools. These are students that come from all over the world that come to these universities, and it is prime pickings. What am I looking for? Okay, psychological or emotional vulnerability. Universities have those. Economic hardship, you betcha. Lack of a social safety net. That right there. I worked in the adult adjacent industry for a short period of time, and the number of girls that I don't want to say breastfeed, but definitely helped get that on track to a better life, were ones that were physically assaulted, addicted to drugs, and they had no other recourse than to do what the traffic law demanded of them. And I saw many young women who had very promising futures, university students. They got caught up in life. They got caught up in the excesses of the life, and went from very promising students to, I couldn't tell you where they disappeared to. Which is why I got out of that industry.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine being a parent of any of those situations. It just very devastating, And I guess this kind of leads to, because we're heading towards the end of the episode, and I definitely want to make sure this is get out there, but what can people do to help volunteer, to help get involved, and essentially protect our community?
First of all, to the nationwide SAR Initiative Genocide Online SAR training. I shared that in the chat for this. And there is if you see something, say something before in this video, start with that. And then, and really learn what it is you're looking for. If you're wanting to volunteer with a group like Shepherd's Latch Foundation, shepherdlatchfoundation.org, fill out the application. We need people. We need the help. Whether it be people that are going to help to lobby for legislation, whether it be people that go out and help do awareness training, people who go out there and staff a booth, do fundraising activities. I mean, we've available for everybody. But truly, But truly, if you want to make the biggest impact of all, that I can't say this enough, but you can both watch the online suspicious activity reporting videos at point from the Department of Homeland Security. And just be aware of what's going on around you. For parents, be aware of what your kids are doing, like have those dialogues with them. And have your kids understand, as a parent, my kids all know one thing. No matter what happens online, they can always come to their parents and say, hey, this is what's going on online. This is, someone said this to me. Someone asked me to do this. And then let us, and then let the adults do that and let them know that they're not in this by themselves. There's always going to be, as parents, we're always going to be there for our kids. We're there to love our kids. We're there to teach our kids, train our kids, protect our kids. Even when they don't want us there, we're still there. So, have those dialogues with your kids, because eventually we do have, as parents, we do have to let them know. And we have to rely on the things that we've taught them and make sure that we taught them the right things. We've given them the right skills to thrive in a world that sometimes, I really want to say sometimes doesn't, but in a way that doesn't always have their best interest at heart.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing all of this. And I guess I know we kind of highlighted this a little bit throughout the episode, but I really just want to emphasize this as we're closing this is, what are the best ways to report human trafficking? And should someone feel very confident of potential human trafficking, or report it if they suspect it? And again, what resources should they report this to?
If you suspect human trafficking, local law enforcement is always going to be the best recourse, your best place to report this to, because then they are trained to not so much investigate human trafficking, they are trained to investigate crime. And even the more information, don't just do a one-in. If you suspect human trafficking in your area, gather information. Be the eyes and ears of your local law enforcement. Okay, that doesn't mean go raid the house. That doesn't mean go peek through windows. But just be aware of what's going on as you're taking your trash to the curb, as you're walking to the mailbox, as you're walking your dog, going for a walk in the evening with your significant other. When you're outside of your house, be aware of what's going on around you. And gather as much information as you can passively. Okay, who is it? What do they look like? All right, what are they doing? What is the suspicious activity that they're presenting? What is it that is causing the hairs on the back of your neck to stand up? And then give that to the professional investigators with your local law enforcement, because for them, knowledge is power. They are the ones that are going to take all of the information that give them, and it may take days, weeks, months before you actually see anything come of it. It's the nature of the beast of building a case and making sure that they're going to be able that when the police make the arrest, that they're going to be able to they're going to be able to hold perpetrators, and then the prosecutors are going to be able to prosecute them to be all instead of what. And one of the biggest things that I have advocated for is if you have someone who is arrested for human trafficking charges, honestly, I say they don't get a plea deal. But I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge. That's my own personal opinion. So, because the people that perpetrate human trafficking, they are despicable. Or plain and simple.
And thank you again so much for coming on here and just being very raw and transparent about this very sensitive topic. And for the listeners of this podcast episode, I'm going to include a few links for those who are interested in volunteering or just have any more general questions about human trafficking. Again, see something, say something. That is such an important message. So before I end this recording in this episode, did you have any additional or final thoughts before we say goodbye to everyone?
Remember, just keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open. Don't go out there trying to be some type of vigilante, some type of, because we see so many of these YouTubers that actually go and try to influence people in their home at their place of business. And the home. Where everything you can do it to local law enforcement, you can report on directly to one of the fusion centers in Missouri. There's the St. Louis Fusion Center. There's the Missouri Information Analysis Center, which is the statewide fusion center. There is the fusion center in Kansas City. But local law enforcement, if you suspect someone is in imminent danger, please 911. And let them handle it. Please, because everybody there's so many people out there that I've talked to that want to go out there and they want to be vigilant. That is not going to solve the problem, because then the perpetrators become the victim. When it comes to vigilantism, the perpetrators become the victim, and the people that are helping become perpetrators. So, the best we can do is to pass good information on to the professionals, i.e. law enforcement, and let them do their job.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much for coming on this episode. It was very insightful. I've learned a few things as well, and I hope our listeners can have a few takeaways from themselves and be able to talk to their kids or their loved ones. So thank you so much for coming on. And for those who are listening, please be safe out there, and remember to see something, say something. Thank you, guys.